I do think it is fair to talk about the receivers because that's something we do a lot. And particularly Juju. And Juju wasn't not out for the entire second half, but he wasn't out there on that last drive. And he was asked about it after the game. And so, this is a desperation drive, and this is a guy you brought in to be your number one. He's your number one, de facto number one receiver. Because they don't have a true number one. He should be a go-to guy here. He should be, but he's not.
Yeah, no, I get it. Especially with Devontae Parker out. That's where you
he's brought in here to replace Jacoby Myers, who was the go-to guy. When you needed a completion, you went to this guy. That's kind of what he's supposed to be in here to do. He's supposed to kind of be the man. You have Devontae Parker, who's your 50-50 ball guy. They tried a couple to Boutte, who simulated that, and it didn't really work. Everyone's got their roles here. Hunter Henry's a safety valve, but JuJu Smith-Schuster, if you need completions, he wasn't in there. They're running a set with Douglas and Boutte in place of him. In fact, among wide receivers all game, he was third in snaps. Boutte was second in this game behind Kendrick Bourne, which was also a bit surprising. So Juju, it's fine to run different packages. It's weird for JuJu Smith-Schuster not to be involved in almost all of them, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that's just injury related. That just is what makes sense. I don't
what
want to
injury though? We're led to believe there isn't a knee injury, and that's kind of what we're kind of talking about.
He's probably lying. I think he's lying because why else would you be out that long?
I don't know that.
I don't agree that he was supposed to become the number one. I think he was expected to be a high volume target. I think they knew that Devontae Parker was their best guy and that Kendrick Bourne could be much better in the right system. I think Juju was all right, a solid, worst case scenario, we have a guy who can, be 1,000-yard receiver. But yeah, I think he's lying. I think it's something on his knee.
Yeah,
plain and simple. Unless they really trust Demario Douglas, and considering how often he and Mac didn't seem like they were on the same page, I just don't think that's likely. And it's not like the Eagles are playing so much man coverage that I'm like, okay, you need Demario Douglas as a separator. I thought especially with all the bunches and stacks they used, they're basically just playing with rules. They're not really playing man or playing zone. They're going into a certain area and getting picked up by certain guys.
And those bunches worked for them. It's just, but again, it was curious.
Someone asked about that.
He played the third. Yeah, someone did. And that was a good question. But again, in terms of snaps, he was third on the team behind Bourne, 73, Boutte, 55, Juju with 43, Demario Douglas, 33 among the wide receivers.
And I think Boutte was just plugging in you're Devontae Parker this week. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Routes run, he was tied for third with Demario Douglas. With 27 targets, he was tied for second with Demario Douglas as well. He had one drop where sure Mac could have put it in there better, but he probably's got to come up with that as well. But he wasn't impactful at all in this game, and then he was out. So there's going to be chatter among Juju. And if he is in fact hurt, well, you know what? That's some damaged goods there, and that's going to be a problem as well, Tayler.
Ever wish you could navigate the betting field with the confidence of a pro? Enter OddsR. They're not a sports book, but they're the sports betting advisor you've always needed. It's like having a playbook for smarter bets right in your pocket. I've been absolutely loving the experience, and I think you will too. Especially since Patriots Press Pass listeners get a 30-day free trial. Elevate your game day and join the smart betting revolution. Go get it at oddsr.com/presspass. That's oddsr.com/presspass.
And if he is in fact hurt, well, you know what? That's some damaged goods there, and that's going to be a problem as well, Tayler.
Yeah,
I know you don't want this to be, but it might be.
But yeah, sure. I think that really, especially we saw how much two running back sets they used with Zeke, and I wanted to talk about this during camp.
I wasn't allowed to. Zeke in there.
I think there was. That was a college offense. That's what he was doing with Jahmyr Gibbs and the other guy. Yeah. So I think that really he was just trying it, and I think they really do like Zeke. I thought the fact Zeke didn't look good. A lot of it was because he was mostly running, and neither one of them could run very good. I thought, he had highlights. I'm just saying that it looked kind of funky. I think the screens, they just were doing too much. I understand they needed to protect their linemen, but he got to a point where it's you can't keep putting yourselves in these positions where you're basically it's a dead play because they're reacting to it so well. they did open up the offense, to be fair, to the point where I don't think it was as obvious, but the screen game had one positive play that I remember, and the rest of it wasn't great. So
yeah, it wasn't
nothing towards the screen game, but I thought it was really interesting what he was doing with the two backs, and I think that is going to really mitigate if JuJu can't play, because then a lot of the time you just need
that's the thing is, even talking about that is a bit of a problem, right? You have You have Parker miss week 1, and if JuJu is physically limited, or he's just a guy in this offense that's just part of certain packages but not part of all of them, and he's not.
Well, also remember, a lot of his contract is incentive based, so if he doesn't do anything this year, he doesn't get paid that much. Like, that was a big thing. It looks like Jakobi Meyers' contract. Jakobi Meyers got that money guaranteed, showed why today. JuJu didn't, because he was coming off a knee injury. So if he doesn't play and it becomes just a guy, his cap is going to reflect that.
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about Jakobi Meyers?